Oh, hi! Now I get a fair amount of handhelds for free. Ambernick Chucks, whatever they're releasing this week, they throw it in a box and they mail it to me without so much as an email or a text. Other companies won't send me review units directly, like Powkitty, but I do get a fair amount for free from third-party sites, like GoGameGeek. Now that's pretty cool. I'm not going to complain about it. It's literally the #1 perk of this entire gig. But I do end up buying a fair amount of my own review units. This is going to be one of those I bought it myself videos, and it's appropriate because this video is about the Ayaneo Pocket Micro Classic. Whoa, that's a mouthful. This CNC aluminum candy bar is running Android 13. It has a MediaTek G99 processor, which is ridiculously overpowered. It has a 3.5-inch 640p 3x2 screen and a super premium feel. Ooh. Now this is a refresh of the Ayaneo Pocket Micro, but without sticks, and it's a little cheaper. It's obviously modeled after the Gameboy Micro, which was a later Game Boy Advance revision / offshoot from late 2005. It was super small, hence micro, and it had a metallic case. It had a good screen as far as brightness and sharpness, but it was only 2 inches big, like 240 by 160. I would go blind playing that today. So we're in luck that the Ayaneo version has a borderless 3.5-inch IPS screen with a resolution of 960 by 640. It comes in a few color options, but this is the cheapest black one. It's kind of reminiscent of the old NES controller in the same way that the golden one looks like a Famicom controller. It's understated and it's clean, and I like it. The gray one is obviously more reminiscent of the NES controller than this, but I don't know, it's like stealth NES. Instead of being a light gray, it's this real subdued dark gray. I like it. I got this for a little bit under $200, but you might even be able to get it cheaper depending on what store you're using and if there's a sale. Regardless, even if this is only $150 or $125, it would still be really, really overpriced. But that's kind of the point when you're going for pure luxury. I can get a high trim level Honda CR-V for the same price as an Acura model, but the Acura would have less perks. Now for me, I'd get the tricked out CR-V every time, but a lot of people will buy the Acura. The vehicles are essentially the same, they're made by the same parent company, but people pay more for premium parts and for the top of the H on the hood ornament to be pinched together to make an A. You ever notice that? So yeah, this handheld is in no way the best bang for your buck. At all. There are 4 or 5 handhelds on my desk that are a third, even maybe a fifth of the price of this, and they all play Game Boy Advance really well. Most of them even have a 3x2 screen with pixel-perfect upscaling and chips that are well suited for 32-bit systems and below. You don't believe me? Well, here, jerk. Think I'm lying to you? There's 5 right there. How you like them apples? We have here the 35XX SP. This goes for about 60, maybe cheaper, maybe 55 bucks on sale. It's got a 4x3 screen, so it's not that perfect 3x2 for Game Boy Advance, but honest to God, it looks like a Game Boy Advance SP. We also have the 34XX, and this looks just like a Game Boy Advance. It has a 3x2 screen, and again, 50 to 60 bucks depending on sales. They took that same exact screen and put it in this, the 34XX SP, which is kind of the best of both worlds. You have that SP form factor, you have a pixel-perfect screen, and probably one of my favorite ways to play Game Boy Advance so far. You also have this old fossil, the 351P. Now this has a 3x2 screen. I got this from Temu for like 45 bucks. This is old as dirt, but it's still really, really good. Doesn't have Wi-Fi. You can usually get it for super cheap on sale sometimes. And this was really one of the first custom-made Game Boy Advance machines. Really, really cool. And then probably the cheapest one we have on here, the Powkitty V90. I mean, there's nothing to it except this 3x2 screen, some basic controls. There's no Wi-Fi, there's no Bluetooth, there's nothing, but it is super cheap. Sometimes you see these things going for $30 or $40. So suffice to say, there are a lot cheaper ways to play Game Boy Advance than the Micro Classic. But the Micro Classic here is pretty premium. The controls on this are pretty good. The D-pad and the face buttons aren't the best I've ever seen, but they're accurate, and they fit the overall feel of the device. The D-pad is a really good mixture of loose and precise, and what I mean by that is if I have the bottom held down here and rock, you can see I'm not getting any inputs left and right. If I bring my thumb up a little bit towards the central pivot point, I get more diagonals, see? But it's a deliberate change. I can play precise games with a lower thumb position and then choke up a little bit for fighting games. Whee! Now the face buttons on here are pretty good. They have good travel and they're not too loud. They really fit the overall feel of the device. The shoulders up here are about what you'd expect from inline. There's nothing to write home about it, but they're functional. There are a bunch of random function keys on the side here and on the bottom. And I'm not sure what these labels mean, like this is 3 dots. I have this RC button mapped as an actual back button on standalone emulators like Melon DS, but then you have this other back button here, and it's just kind of confusing. And in addition to not really being clear on what these do, honestly, sometimes it seems like they have different functions. Like if I press RC here, it's kind of like a back button. It works as a back button in standalone emulators, but then sometimes I press it and it'll like just take me back to the home screen. There's also an actual back button on the bottom here, but it acts more like a home button and it takes you back to the home menu. And you have this Ayaneo button here that opens up a quick menu on the side where you can swap between performance profiles, change the fan speed, and you can adjust brightness and volume and stuff. It's okay, but it's kind of pointless because A, I'm never going to play anything on here that needs this sort of fine-tuned performance, and B, those other options, like brightness, you can just drag down from the top because it's Android. These buttons actually get more use from me accidentally pressing them, thinking it's start or select, than it does as Ayaneo or a home button toggle. No, Zoo, start, idiot. That's not start. This is start. The power button on top is also a fingerprint reader, which is just really unnecessary, but it's on brand with this as an over-the-top premium Gameboy Advance machine. Oh, by the way, the D-pad can be toggled to act as an analog stick if you just have to play stick games on here. But the whole point of this video is that the Micro Pocket Classic is a premium Game Boy Advance. I would never recommend this for anything besides D-pad games, solely because there's a version of this that comes with sticks. If you need this form factor, use that one. Otherwise, it's just a pointless compromise, at least in my opinion, because this device is a unitasker from tip to tail. This device also, as a whole, just feels really, really premium. It has that all-glass face, a CNC aluminum frame, solid build quality, just the whole 9 yards. It feels like something from a real gaming company and not like a toy. It's got heft, but it's still pocketable, and despite being a brick, the ergonomics aren't bad. All the controls are spaced out enough that it's not hard to reach buttons, but it's also not cramped. The device itself has tastefully rounded shoulders, and it never feels as blocky as it looks. That was honestly one of my primary fears when I first saw this, but it's quite comfy for a candy bar. Now, something that's not premium and not very fun at all is the default front end on this thing. I really do not like AyaSpace here. I've been trying to use it on every Ayaneo product I get, and I always end up switching to Emulation Station or Daijisho or something else. It's just really unwieldy, and for a product line that's expensive as hell, you'd think they'd figure it out. Like, Anbernic improves their stock H700 firmware every month or so, but Ayaneo just gives you this half-baked experience with the tacit understanding that no one's ever really going to use it. Now, I flipped a coin and I went with Daijisho. I also went into the settings and set this as my default home app, so whenever I press this back button, it takes me back here. And I really haven't looked back. Honestly though, any of your standard Android front ends will be better than stock. It's just clunky, and I never really figured out how to get box art on there. And, like, it'll ask for configuration files from other front ends. If you want me to fart around and make a Pegasus file like it's 2022, then why not go all in and use Pegasus itself? You know what I mean, Gary? Anyway, too long didn't read. This is comfy and premium and probably the most expensive purpose-built Game Boy Advance machine. So let's show off some Game Boy Advance gameplay. Tell you what, Game Boy Advance games on this screen look amazing. I mean, they should. It's $200, but still. Beautiful. And this thing is super, super powerful, so you can always turn on all sorts of shaders. Like LCD 3X, which looks great in person. I don't know, it's not showing super great on the camera, but looks great in person. You can run pretty much whatever shader you want because this thing's so overpowered. Here's a kind of a real-life example of that D-pad test I did at the beginning of the video. I really have to rock it to get him to pivot, but if I'm up here, he's going all over the place. There you go. This game's actually really cool. It's like a Diablo clone, but on the Game Boy Advance, it's kind of amazing. I like you can play as Frodo in this game. It's completely against the lore. Like if you're Legolas or Gimli and you're bebopping and scatting and murdering trolls left and right, that's one thing. But he's a little hobbit. He's got like a penknife. He's murdering orcs and trolls like it's his job. Oh, I just leveled up. I bet he's dead. What a terrible time to overhear. I'm only playing this because they have butt rock as the music. They digitized and downsampled, I think, Earshot or Nonpoint, and they put it as the music in Madden 2005. It's amazing. Nice. Uh-oh, 87% battery. I better plug this in so I can keep playing all night. Luckily, I have something here from Ugreen. Boy, I tell you what, I've been busy as all get out this last month. We just got back from vacation, and we got fireworks, picnics, pool days, and all sorts of activities all summer long. With everyone bringing their phones, their games, their iPads, and even laptops, it's critical to have a super high performance charger. That's why I'm glad Ugreen decided to roll out this powerhouse of a power bank. This is the Ugreen Nexode 165 watt retractable power bank. And it's the most amazing power bank I've seen yet. It can fast charge at 100 watts on a single USB-C or max out at 165 watts between two ports. The cool thing about this is that the 100 watt output is more than enough to boost some of the higher end x86 devices you might have. So for example, I can plug in my ROG Ally X here and bump up my performance settings because the handheld thinks I'm plugged into a wall. It can take a 14-inch MacBook Pro from 0 to 54% in half an hour, so it made short work of my Flip 2 while I was at the beach. It has 3 ports overall, so you can have 2 phones and a Bluetooth speaker charging under your umbrella while you're in the surf and the sand. Honestly, we use this as a living room hub as well. We had an iPad and 2 Samsung Galaxies plugged in, and they were all happily charging while we watched a movie before bed. One of the coolest features of this device, and it's something my wife was in love with, is this retractable cable. It can be stretched out as far as just a little bit over 2 feet, or any smaller distance you might need. It's durable and it's tidy, and once you're done charging, you just pull the cord, and it snaps back into place with a little magnetic lock. This same retractable tech is also coming to Ugreen's newer chargers, like this 65 watt model here. It has a retractable USB-C in addition to some normal ports. This power bank also has a massive 20,000 milliamp hour battery, which is enough to charge an iPhone 16 from dead to full almost 4 times. And oh, by the way, it's just under the FAA limits, so it's safe to bring with you on a plane. It has a smart TFT display, so you can see how much battery you have left, what your input, what your outputs are, and you can monitor your power flow. If this power bank, or any of the Ugreen line looks interesting to you, be sure to check out the link in the description. Their normal sale prices are pretty good, but I hear tell they're going to have some really good Prime Day sales too, up to 40% off. How about that? Anyway, thanks again for Ugreen for sponsoring this video. Well, Gary, the clock on the wall says it's time for What Did We Learn? And we learned that the Ayaneo Pocket Micro Classic is almost certainly the most expensive purpose-built Game Boy Advance machine ever. Now, there are other more expensive ways to play Game Boy Advance, and I'm saying this as someone who used the 1X Player 2 Pro to beat a Digimon kart racer game for our Discord Game of the Month Club. But this thing is clearly designed for Game Boy Advance. From the striking similarities to the Game Boy Micro in both name and design, to the 3x2 screen, to the removal of analog sticks, and even to 2 out of the 3 color schemes available, this is supposed to be for Game Boy Advance, and no one can tell me otherwise. But it's also $200! That's way too much to pay for Game Boy Advance. Unless you're bougie. Like, Yeti's gonna charge you over $300 for a freaking cooler. Coleman will make that and sell it for $40. It's the same thing. But people will go nuts for Yeti. I see Yeti cups and bags and all sorts of stuff all the time when I go to after school events or if we're on vacation or whatever. And it's a status symbol, I get it. 99 times out of 100, I don't go in for that. But I made an exception when I snagged the Ayaneo Pocket Micro Classic from Go Game Geek on a lark, and I kind of get it. Like I kind of get it now. I know it's too expensive, and that's kind of the appeal. I'm allowed to have one expensive pretty thing like a fancy boy. I'm allowed. I might get my groceries from the sketchy outlet store, and I might take chances on manager's special hamburger a lot of the times. But with this Ayaneo here, I'm bougie AF. I'm fancy. I'm upper middle class. I'm worth it, okay? If you thought this video was bougie AF and worth it, then remember to like and subscribe and all that jazz. If enough people do that, then maybe I'll be able to get more of these stupidly expensive Ayaneos. If you didn't like the video, I guess you can always use the dislike button and unsubscribe, but that'll make me sad. And I'll take more chances with that manager's special meatloaf mix. It might be 12% horse. No one wants that. Horses are majestic animals. Gary had a horse in the army when he was in Belgium. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you later. Goodbye.